Hello. Today I will be featuring the tier 10 Japanese battleship, the Yamato. A ship I've often described as incredibly strong, and honestly I haven't featured it in a while, but with all the changes and as of recently I've seen a lot of people say that this ship needs to be buffed, which really baffles me. Now, first of all, the enemy team instantly recognizes me, which means that my nice renamed name is no longer that useful, since I used to enjoy this name because no one recognized me, but everyone recognizes me these days, so I guess I'm gonna have to rename myself. Now, the bad thing is, enemy has a Hakuryu. They also have a Henry, and St. Louis division with 3-man HE spamming division, which is of course going to be pretty rough whoever they decide to focus. I wonder who they might focus. But on the bright side, we have some super tryhard division on our team running a midway with 2 AA cruisers. So overall it does seem pretty balanced in that sense. Now, the Yamato, with the recent lowering of the Montana Citadel, a decision I didn't really support, because I thought they could have gone for other approaches to balancing the Montana instead of making it more forgiving for people who give full broadside, which I think is the wrong approach to take. But with the recent changes to the Montana, for some reason people are now thinking that the Yamato needs to be buffed as well, and this really blows my mind. I mean, the Yamato, nothing has changed in the Yamato. Yamato is still insane. Yes, it has, because of the octagon-shaped citadel, it does have a weakness. If you angle yourself so that you basically show that weirdly shaped citadel to the enemy, of course it has a weakness there. But if you don't do that, it's still insanely tanky. And as long as you don't give that citadel or full broadside or whatever, you still have these absolutely ridiculous guns that are capable of punishing any target. I mean any target. Even Grosse Kurfürst. If a Grosse Kurfürst angles you, you aim a bit higher, you shoot at his superstructure, and you do a massive amount of damage. So it's just incredibly strong. And the game starts out with our Fletcher, which was our only DD, running off and dying alone, which is of course not the best approach to the game. But things happen. North Carolina spotted about 17 km away. You notice, by the way, that I have priority target on NA because I usually get focused so much, and as you can see, I got 4 to 5 people focusing me at all times. North Carolina, no citadels, just 6 hits, but that's enough to deal 20k damage. Now you can see 6 people targeting me, and of course that HE division that I spoke of, no surprise, they are going to be focusing me, and this is something you're going to see. They're going to be focusing me much of the entire game, and I'm pretty okay with this. I mean, you're a battleship. Dealing with HE spam shouldn't come as much of a surprise. And the Henry gets a bit too, I guess, not cautious enough. He gets a bit overconfident. That has become a bit of a meme, hasn't it? And he hits another 10k damage. But in general, I'm in a fairly good position right now. I'm staying behind these islands, of course, because, well, I am a priority target for the enemy, as you can see. Whenever I get detected, I get 3 to 4 people, sometimes even 5, 6 people focusing me at all times. So obviously I'm a priority target to them because they recognize who I am. But I'm pretty used to this on EU I get focused a ton, and on sea I get focused a ton, so I'm pretty used to this. And honestly, a ship like the Yamato, it deals pretty damn well with being focused a lot. The heavy armor on it means that HE isn't that much of an issue, and in the cover I have, I'm able to use my long-range guns to deal massive damage to the enemy and just punish them. Another cruiser caught off guard. I caught him mid-turn, so I managed to citadel him. And even though they've been focusing me and I'm holding a fairly defensive position here, I've already racked up 57k damage, which is of course nothing to scoff at. Now, the problem is, while we have been holding them, or basically stopping them at sea, they are pushing hard through A. If you look at the minimap, we got a huge force pushing through A, and of course, those people are focusing me as well. They're not interested in our Montana, Friedrich de Grosse, that's in our spawn. They also want to shoot at me. So, of course, I'm very popular here, but once again, this isn't the end of the world. One of that division gets deleted, which is of course good for me, considering having the whole division focus me is a bit nasty. You notice that I only have one fire burning, and that's of course because I'm running fire prevention on the Yamato. It's extremely useful, especially on the NA server where this kind of HE spam focus on me is very, very common. I think I also run Concealment Expert, so I have both a stealthy and a tanky build in that sense. Looks like they are pushing through this flank. I'm turning my guns to see if I can punish them. One of the weaknesses of the Yamato is naturally the very slow turret traverse, so in general you want to avoid switching sides too much on the guns, like I'm doing here, because, well, if they fade from vision, it can get very annoying. I do get enough vision to shoot a volley at the Izumo. He's fairly angled, but this is the Yamato, and being fairly angled isn't really enough to prevent taking damage. Issue is though, a Grosse Kurfürst is pushing there, and we have an Izumo and a Montana, so I'm gonna have to push away from this position. I'm gonna have to move away from here. I am spotted, so I instantly get detected. Gonna see if I can maybe punish this Moskva in the back. Doesn't look like it. He's very far away, and you'll need a bit of a luck to hit the Moskva that far away, unless he pretty much lets you land a volley. Now, of course, since I am spotted, the Henry instantly opens up fire on me, and it looks like that Moskva back there was also shooting me. So, once again, every time I'm spotted, I do get shot at quite a bit. But once again, this is pretty good. Out of all the targets they could shoot, shooting me is probably the best option. And now you notice my angle here. I'm giving flat broadside to the right between the enemies. I'm staying angled towards the guys pushing from A. I'm staying slightly angled towards the guy south of C. And what this means is that while they might get some penetration damage, they're not going to get any citadels. And when I still have 3 heals left and I'm this healthy, taking a bit of penetration damage isn't really the end of the world. You can heal 50% of all penetration damage. There's a Kurfürst, gonna see if we can punish him maybe. He's no doubt gonna open up fire on me, but you see, I'm not giving that octagon-shaped citadel. I'm not showing that to him. I'm also not showing full broadside. I'm kind of hovering in between. So if he does hit me, yes, he will get penetration damage. But if he aims too low at the belt, it will probably bounce, because the belt on the Yamato is, of course, incredibly good. I'm gonna see if he's gonna turn out maybe, see if I can punish him a bit. Is he going to turn out? The midway does drop him, and it seems like he's actually turning in, which is a bit surprising. You note that I am, thanks to my stealth build, I'm able to disengage pretty much at any time I like, which is of course one of the great strengths, and one of the reasons why I really love this build on the Yamato, because you have such incredibly powerful guns. Being able to engage and disengage whenever you want, and being able to unleash this kind of firepower when you want, is very powerful. Oh, Henry manages to dodge just at the last second. 3 people targeting me, and it looks like they are pushing through. They are pushing through A at this point. Once again, a bit of penetration damage, but you notice no citadels. But considering I know there's 2 tier 10 battleships pushing from that flank, well, I think the Grosse Kurfürst got killed, but there's still Montana and Izumo. I'm gonna have to reposition myself. My biggest threat right now is the Grosse Kurfürst. I want someone to deal with him. And I don't really want to open up fire until he is dealt with, because it's kind of scary at this point. Really too much of a tempting broadside to not fire though. This Grosse Kurfürst should die soon. I'm turning more and more broadside to the Grosse Kurfürst because I expect him to go down. 16k volley on the fairly angled Izumo. Once again, Yamato never really cared much about angling at all. He doesn't care if you... People complain that Yamato is one of the few ships who take so much damage if you angle because of the citadel, but they completely neglect the part where Yamato deals a massive amount of damage to anyone who's angled. Worth noting, this Moskva makes a big positional error. My turret got broken, so I actually used my repair to instantly heal my turret up so I can fire a full volley. And now this is a bit risky, especially when you got many HE spammers focusing you like I did this game. And if you don't run fire prevention, it can be extremely risky. But I saw the Moskva making a positional error. He pushed too far up in the front, he got detected, and even though my turret was broken, I instantly repaired it to be able to fire at him. Montana attempts to angle nose in towards me, but of course, as I mentioned before, Yamato really doesn't care about any sort of angling. Like, Angle all you want, you're still gonna eat a ton of damage from this ship. Which is, of course, the great thing about the Yamato. It's the thing that's always made this ship stand out. Can I catch him? I'm expecting him to accelerate. I'm gonna see, does he accelerate now, or will he... No, he's gonna keep reversing, so my shells are gonna completely miss. If he makes the mistake of accelerating though, I will be able to catch him out. Anyway, what I was saying, the great strength of the Yamato is the greatest strength in the entire game. The ability to punish the enemy even if they angle. Oh yeah, look, he's trying to go... He thinks he's in the cover behind the islands, but he doesn't take into account that I popped the spotter plane, and the spotter plane gives me vision across the island, and thus I'm able to catch him while he's attempting to move out. So that Moskva got deleted in, what, 5 citadels? So very short ending to his game. But what I was saying was, people focus on the tankiness of the Grosse Kurfürst and now the tankiness of the Montana, but they ignore the fact that the Yamato's strength is one of the best strengths in the entire game. The ability to punish any ship at any angle is so incredibly strong. It's so damn strong, especially the better the enemy players are. The better the enemy players are, the stronger your advantage is. And that's what it fundamentally comes down to. The more they angle and the better they play, the more powerful your strength becomes. Because if you were any other ship, angling against you would significantly hamper your damage. If you're a Montana and an enemy Montana angles against you, you will do almost no damage to him. If you're a Yamato and an enemy Montana angles against you, you don't give a shit. You just shoot him and you deal massive damage. I'm gonna see if I can catch this guy. Is he really gonna... He's grounding. My aim was right on him. And my shells for some reason land behind him. Now this is a bit of a common thing. I think there's something with the UI that doesn't properly calculate where the shells should land if you shoot at a target that's grounded. It somehow gets messed up and very often your shells land behind the target. You might have noticed this when you shoot a grounded target. Let's say a DD grounds and you shoot him, and your shells land on the island behind the grounded target instead of landing on him. And that's the very same issue that I spoke of here. Now the Izumo and Montana have been pushing through A. The position, I've been still holding the same position because it's such a great position. I can punish these guys flanking, I can defend C, I can defend B. Montana angled nose in towards me, and what does Yamato care about this angle? Absolutely nothing. Only two of all the shells I shot hit. One was a full penetration, the other was a citadel. Straight through the nose, right into the frontal barbette, instant citadel. Izumo tries to punish me. At the angle I am, very little damage actually dealt. Izumo also attempts to angle against me once again. Yamato, I think it was a year and a half ago, I made a vid that says Yamato doesn't give a fuck. And that case hasn't changed. This ship still doesn't give a fuck. The one strength it has, these incredible guns, are still one of the best strengths in the entire game. And the idea that this ship should be buffed because the Grosse Kurfürst has an advantage in tanking, or the Montana can show more broadside and get away with it, is absolutely ridiculous, because this strength hasn't gone anywhere. This strength is just as valid as it was at the launch of the game. This strength is incredible. I don't think these shells will cross. Nope, gonna hit the island. Might as well go for it since the game is about to end. Actually, their Hakuryu was spotted, being a bit over-eager, pushing up that flank. I guess he thought his battleships would live a bit longer on this flank. And we're gonna see if I'm gonna get one last volley off, so I'm gonna see if I can maybe punish this guy. Final volley before the game ends, because with the reload, even with AR kicking in, I of course have a very good reload. But I'm only gonna get this volley off, I think. And only one citadel, sadly. No final, a devastating strike. And the game ends. So that was what? Me holding pretty much one single position most of the game. Nothing really fancy about it. I just took a very solid position next to our cap that both hindered the enemy from pushing and flanking us, and at the same time helped prevent the enemy from trying to push into the cap we were pressuring, and it also allowed me to help my team push into the cap because, well, I was this threat and of course I was this damage sponge. Damage wise, 217k, perhaps not the most impressive, only Confederate as my reward, And but then we look at, of course, our shells. How many hits do we have? 37 hits and 9 citadels. Right. Okay. 217k damage with that volume of fire. Score-wise, the Super Tryhard division, of course, shredded most of the planes, and because, well, I saw instantly what kind of division they were, so I positioned myself close to both the Minotaur and the Des Moines. Because obviously, if you're against a carrier and you have AA cruisers on your team, obviously you want to go to the same capture point they're going, because you're going to be protected from the planes if you go there. That's just, once again, common sense. And for example, they never even got close to striking me, so I didn't shoot down any planes. And I'm perfectly okay with this, because of course that just shows intelligent positioning. And moving on to the detailed report, damage upon your spotting. I actually spotted 57k worth of damage, because I think it was when they were trying to flank, I was the one who was spotting them, and I didn't really care if they tried to shoot me. I tanked 100k, which isn't really much. Damage received 99k, not really that much, but then we look at potential damage. I actually tanked 2 millions worth of potential damage, because so many tried to HE spam me, so many tried to shoot me. And I didn't care, because even with the one citadel weakness that this ship has, it's still incredibly tanky. People act like that one citadel weakness means that it's a squishy ship. It's not. It's absurdly tanky. And finally, of course, the main battery damage. 46 hits, 217k damage. You gotta understand what kind of average damage per shell we're talking here. That's an absurd amount of damage per shell. When we have 46 hits and we deal 217k damage, that just shows you the insane power of this 460mm guns, when you can land that few shells and still do such a devastating amount of damage to everything. And of course, the presence you have, the positioning I had. Anywhere they tried to push for A, they had to deal with me. They tried to avoid, they tried to angle against me. Both the Izuma and the Montana tried to angle against me. That didn't work at all. Every time I spotted the Izuma, I nailed him, even though he tried to angle. The Montana, I citadel through the nose. Yamato is still an amazing ship, and it's still absolutely one of the strongest battleships in the entire game. And honestly, people who are calling for the buffs, I have no idea what they're smoking. If there's one thing the ship never has needed, it's any sort of buffing. It's already insane. I mean, I honestly, I don't work, my brain doesn't work at the same wavelength at all, because to me, that sort of buffing makes no sense at all. Anyway, this was of course on my NA account, where I've recently unlocked my Yamato. I might as well show you guys the build I'm using here, since it is slightly different than the build I use on EU. Well, since the NA server is apparently down, I'll just show it on my EU account as well, since I've respec'd my EU account in very much the same manner. Module-wise, well, not much to talk about, can't upgrade anything. Priority-wise, when it comes to consumable, you should run premium damage control and premium repair party, at least. If you can't, well, and you can run premium spotter plane. If you can't afford it, that's okay. Just this one you can skip on. Upgrade-wise, auxiliary armaments mod, aka your secondaries, because, well, your turrets, they get damaged and you lose them extremely rarely. You saw it happen once in that game, and that is indeed that's a rarity, mostly because my guns were aimed the other way and I got shot in the flank. Usually you never lose your turrets, and for that reason I instead prefer to keep my secondaries and my AA mounts alive. Better dispersion for your main guns, followed by faster reload, because once again, these guns are the bread and butter of this ship. Damage control 1 and 2 for additional tankiness. Yes, your maneuverability is garbage, but it's going to be garbage regardless, and honestly, you don't really want to be brawling in this ship. You want to hold position, you want to have a very solid position to begin with, where angling and having to maneuver too much shouldn't become a point at any time. And finally, concealment, which you saw once again being used to great effect, being able to disengage whenever I felt like it. It brings down your concealment to 13.5 with the full build. Captain perks wise, now you saw me running priority target. and I've actually liked it quite a bit, mostly because I find it extremely useful against DDs. Not so much enemy battleships or enemy cruisers. I mean, yes, they will shoot at you pretty much at all times and they will focus you, but I found it extremely useful because DDs tend to quite often keep you targeted, and then when they switch to torpedo tubes, the priority target number goes down, and then when they switch to guns, it goes up again. So this tends to give you a bit of a heads up. You see, let's say you're being targeted by 2 people and you only see one of them actually shooting at you, and then suddenly the number drops to 1 and then back up to 2 again. That's pretty much like putting up a big red flag that a DD has just torpedoed you. And I've been experimenting with this a lot on my battleships, and I've actually liked it a fair amount. It's like an early warning system that you are being torpedoed. It does require you to pay a lot of attention to this though, so if you dislike having to focus so much on it to get the most value out of it, double spotter plane is very useful, and preventive maintenance, since we're not running the additional turret tankiness, might also be valuable. Perks wise, we want expert marksman first, followed by superintendent, followed by concealment. Once you have these basic 10 points, you should build into AR, followed probably by vigilance. Then again, it kind of depends, but ultimately you want both vigilance and fire prevention as your final points. In the past I used AFT, but with the ever dwindling amount of carriers, it becomes less and less useful, and ultimately even with AFT you weren't really shooting down too many planes to begin with, and fire prevention helps you deal with the bombs much better, since, well, they usually only get 1 fire on you instead of the usual 2. So that has been very useful, also to deal with, of course, all the HE spamming. Anyway, that was my... Oh, I should show you the flanks. Signal wise, your first priority on the Yamato is without a doubt, you should run the India Delta. And interesting, wait, why is this one on? I must have misclicked, because this one is useless. This flag is completely useless because the minus 20% flooding time, the flood lasts so long that the minus 20% doesn't come up before your repair is up again. So this is one of the most useless flags in the entire game. Now, of course, the one you should be running is India Yankee. So these 2 flags, additional heal and reduction in fire duration, synergizes extremely well with this tanky build. You saw how completely unruffled I was by the fire spam I received this game, even though some of the best fire spammers in the game, 2 Henry IVs, were hitting me. Yeah, the ship doesn't really care. And these 2 followed up by faster reload on the consumables, and then you can add some flavor. You can add speed flags, you can add better secondaries, you can add better AA. These are all good buffs, but ultimately they are not as valuable. Speed, for example, you don't really find yourself speeding around too much in the Yamato. It's very much a positional based, a very stationary battleship that controls an area of the map, and you take control, unlike the Gross Corfos that might want to bully in and like push the enemy away with the Hydra and so forth. The Yamato kind of seizes control of a part of a map, and then it just holds it, and it can deny the enemy from trying to push in any way, which is what you saw me do in the map earlier. So ultimately the most important ones are heal, fire prevention, and faster consumable reload. Everything else is kind of flavor after that. Anyway, that was my updated Yamato commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it.